When it comes to the biggest moments in Utah sports history,
Say
these guys have seen it all. This is DJ and PK. DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contests and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Hey, David.
This song is not considered a Stones classic, but I think it's a Stones classic.
It's on their 40s album, their 40 number one hits that they had. Whatever it is, crazy.
But I think it's the stuff from the 60s is the signature Stones stuff. And so if you're from the 70s or 80s, yeah, you're number one, but it just doesn't seem to get mentioned the same way. Because even if you have 35 number ones, the 35th number one, nobody can remember all 35.
Were you
They can remember 4, 5, or 6 of them.
An active Stones fan as a younger person?
Well, that depends on how you define Stones fan. Because of my age, I do not come in for the opening chapters in their epic career. Those, to me, are the before times.
Did you lean more towards the Stones
this is my generation.
or the Beatles?
I like the Beatles, but the Beatles were completely done. Right. I have no memory. They break up. I don't know the first thing about them. That's all later. Whereas the Stones, I'm aware, they've been a big deal for
Still
15 years.
Now.
Right. They've been a bit, but then not with the new music so much.
Yeah.
Not cranking out number ones anymore. Although that would be awesome if they just had one song and it knocked Taylor Swift off the top of the charts. That would be awesome. I'm totally up for that. But they were still, to your point, making number one hits, in the 80s, the late 70s and the 80s. Well, the late 70s and 80s I can help you with. You get back into the early 70s and the 60s, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm of no use to you. I've learned that all as, out of the history books. The Utah Jazz, as we mentioned, teasing this segment, the Jazz are up to something. A quote from Brian Windhorst, which is basically what Windhorst, as you point out, was saying 2 years ago, the summer they blew it all up and traded Gobert and then traded Mitchell. But what are they up to? They don't hold all the cards there in the way that they did. Every situation is a little different. So Markkanen's eligible for his extension October 6th. However, once he signs it, he can't be traded for 6 months. And then that puts him right up against the trade deadline. So if he gets this offer when he's eligible on the 6th, and then just takes about, 48, 72 hours to sign it, hey, it's in the mail, guys, then he's going to be with the Jazz until next summer. Do they trade him? The other thing they have going is their roster right now is so small, so inexpensive, and so loaded with first and second year players that they are, with the last couple of roster moves here, releasing a couple of guys, they are more than $20 million under the salary floor.
Yeah, the floor, not the cap, the floor.
I referred to it earlier as the salary cap floor. There's the salary cap and the luxury tax, but for the players to agree to that, they're like, yeah. Well, there has to be a floor, too. If you're going to limit how much you can make, you're also going to guarantee the minimum. So they've got to spend about $23 million, and that number may move a little bit based on other roster decisions, but most of the guys that they're adding and subtracting don't move that number a lot at this point. They waived Kenneth Lofton Jr. and Darius Baisley. So that moves the number to about $23 million. Do they spend that money, A, extending Markkanen, B, with what they get back as they trade Markkanen, or C, some other way?
Let's lay this out quickly. Jazz, I think, have 12 players under contract. Mm-hmm. You need to have at least 13 and as many as 15, and you've got a couple of two-ways.
That can take you to 17.
Yeah. And in fact, it's up to 3 two-ways now.
Oh, really? They added 18.
There's 3 two-ways.
Why not? They got so much money.
Colin Sexton, Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Jordan Clarkson, Lowry Markkinen, Johnny Juzang, Cody Williams, Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Filipowski, John Collins, Walker Kessler, Drew Eubanks. They haven't signed Drew Eubanks, Johnny Juzang, or Kyle Filipowski, which is really weird. I'm actually a little shocked that Kyle Filipowski played Summer League without a guaranteed contract.
I thought Juzang got a deal.
Juzang agreed to a deal. I bet you Filipowski has agreed to a deal.
But they haven't signed
Drew
it.
Eubanks has agreed to a
But
deal.
they haven't signed it.
Absolutely. The Jazz are saving every possible penny they can to maintain their flexibility. Now, you've heard the saying, people will tell you who they are.
Yes.
The Jazz are telling you what they're doing. We're trying to read into all these different things. And look, everyone I have talked to and the people who would know, everybody I have talked to has said, we're going to re-sign Lowry Markkinen this offseason. We're going to give him an extension. That he's going to sign a 4-year deal. He loves Utah. We love him. That's the plan.
This is what they tell you, but not into a camera or into a microphone.
No. This is... Now,
an aside conversation.
These are side conversations.
Right.
Which, in all honesty...
given an opportunity to say this into a camera and into a microphone, Danny Ainge went with, I want to get into it.
Yes.
Hey, don't tip your hand. You don't want your fan base and the media coming back saying you lied.
Right.
Right? And it's not that cut and dried. He holds a lot of the cards, but he doesn't hold all of them. The ground under his feet may shift, and what is true in this press conference in this moment may simply not be true 30, 60, 90 days from now. So I get, although I was really disappointed, I get why he didn't want to answer the question. I get it. I wanted him to answer the question.
Sure.
That's why I asked.
Yes, of course.
But I get the ground under his feet may move, and he's got to be flexible.
So as you mentioned, the Jazz can't sign Lowry to an extension or this renegotiation. The renegotiation is really the key part here until August 6th. So that's 11 days from right now. You save as much money as you can because it actually gives you more options with what you can do with Lowry, depending on how much money you have. To be able to sign him to an extension, you can only sign, I believe it's 125% of your existing deal. Now, this, of course, doesn't count on rookie extensions and things like that, but he's not a rookie. He's not signing a rookie extension.
He's going into the lucrative third contract.
So when you're giving a guy a contract a year before he hits free agency, yes, his third contract, you can only go up a certain percentage of what he's already being paid on an extension. So,
man, I love being an accountant. I knew it would help when I went into sportscasting.
So you need to get him to a certain number to get him to what the projected max contract is going to be. And for the Jazz, I believe that's $33 million. He's at 18 this year. So you have to give him $15 million. The Jazz have $34 million to play with right now.
Doable.
The nice thing is you can give Lowry all $34 million if you want. You could get, or $25 million if you want. You can give him from 18 to take him up over 40. And the advantage of taking him up over 40 is now you can say, hey, Lowry, we're paying you now. Why don't you give us a break on the back end? Don't sign a max.
And
we'll give you 20 now.
We know they will do this because they already did this.
They did it with Jordan Clarkson.
This is the Jordan Clarkson story.
Exactly what they did.
Hey, we need the flexibility later. Would you like to have your money now? To which Jordan said what most people would say. Yes, I will take my money now.
Yeah. Put your extra $20 million in a high-interest bank, a high-interest account, and make 5% on it. Yeah, life's really good in that spot. So that's where Lowry really wants to sign this deal. Now, I haven't talked to Lowry about it, but this is where Lowry really wants to sign this deal and why it's so advantageous.
Chance to say this into a microphone, Lowry did not say this. Well, there's advantages, and I really have to think about it.
His agent is going to say the advantage is if you sign now, you get $20 million more on this contract than if you don't.
Right.
And the problem for you, Lowry, is this money doesn't come back.
Does he want to go through his whole career playing for teams that miss the playoffs? Because there is a part of him that I think thinks like Joe Ingles thinks. And Joe Ingles said $50 million is more than any one person or any one family is ever going to need.
There is a practicality that exists in Joe Ingles that does not exist in most NBA players.
But Lowry left the door open to that.
Lowry did.
Because I think you were sitting there when I asked him this.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I was.
Yeah.
And He said, yeah, I don't want to be the guy who signs too early or the guy who signs too late.
Right. And he talked about how it's been handled a lot of different ways, and I have to look at all those ways and really think about it.
The advantage here for the Jazz and for Lowry is this $20 million is not money he can get ever again. There are some guys, like Tyrese Maxey, for example, last year didn't sign his rookie extension. He waited a year until he hit restricted free agency and got the full max. Well, they would have given him close to that anyways, and he would have been basically the same amount of money. He waited, he made a little bit more money. If Lowry waits a year, this $20 million the Jazz can give him is gone, and he will never get it back. $20 million is an unfathomable amount of money. He will not say no to that. It would take some real guts to say no to $20 million. And the way you massage Lowry into being okay with one more 25-win season by saying we're going to give you $1 million a win.
I love the math.
We give you $1 million a win. So only give us 25, and we'll give you that 25 mil. Essentially is what the Jazz are angling towards. But again, they have some wiggle room on this. And talking to people who know how this works with the Jazz, they specifically said they were really excited about the number of different ways they could get this deal done. They know that there are 3, 4, 5 different ways they could structure this deal to benefit Lowry, to benefit the Jazz, to benefit a little bit of both, to entice Lowry to say, leave some money on the table. We can sign more players. You want to win. We can't win with one guy making too much money. And then the back end of this is that with the new TV deal that's going to be kicking in by the end of Lowry's deal, especially if they give him $40 million this year and it declines, we're going to be cackling at how small of the percentage of the cap Lowry is making on the last year of his deal, despite the fact that he might be a 31-year-old all-star.
All the accountants have already written all the salary cap pieces on how 60, 70, 80, 90, and $100 million players are basically guaranteed by this new TV deal, this $76 billion in the 11 years. So if Lowry doesn't want to be part of another 25-win team, why not take all that extra money you were talking about, the extra $20 million, which he won't get because he's got to pay taxes in the U.S. and maybe in Finland too, so I don't even know how much of that $20 million he gets to take home, which might be all the more reason to do it because he is so heavily taxed. I mean, in triplicate when he's playing a road game, right? Because he's getting taxed wherever he's playing the game, in New York or California, and then he's getting taxed in Utah by the U.S. government, and then I assume...
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe the money never goes to Finland.
Maybe,
he never gets taxed there.
Yeah, right. Might go to Switzerland.
But why not
for all
sign it? Why not? Good call. Why not sign it on the 6th, and then they can trade you before the deadline, and you can be in the playoffs next year.
And that is another aspect where he likes Utah, and he does have young kids, and he stayed in Utah so they could finish out school this year. Yep. He is not this guy who is on the plane the second the Jazz leave.
Nope.
He
made that clear also.
He's a Utah guy.
Yep.
Which is a huge advantage for the Jazz as well. But he could also, there is control to being able to force your way out.
Tim McMahon, ESPN, doesn't think there's a chance Markkanen signs his deal on August 6th. He thinks Lowry will wait to ensure he can't be traded for a full year. Maybe he doesn't want to be traded midseason and be separated from the kids who he wants to do the complete year of school and minimize the turmoil in their lives. That's a common thing we hear through sports. We often underestimate it, but someone like Kyle Whittingham, who had to move around as a kid, did not want his kids to move around and is very proud of the fact that his kids went into a school system and went through it without the interruptions and the disruptions.
Joe Johnson left his kids here. He came and played for the Jazz. He liked the school enough that when he left his kids here so they could finish out, I think, the whole next year. Yeah, that matters. These are real people. These are real human beings.
Dennis Lindsey was at Jazz games this past year.
Yeah.
Scouting, working for Dallas. And Dennis, what are you doing here? Well, I still live here.
Yeah.
You still live here? My kid's a senior in high school.
She graduates. What happens to Dennis? They sell their house immediately. He's the first guy on the plane. I think they took a van. But yes, to that point, all of that stuff really matters. I also think the idea of the Jazz trading Lowry is a little overblown. What was the last mega trade we saw in season?
Well,
and Lowry is a mega player.
We're getting close to a break here, so my initial reaction, and PK, are you sure? And me, yes. And now I was wrong. I thought it was a 2-year rebuild because, and PK always yells at me for this, and I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong the way he thinks he is. They're not going to spend all those draft picks. Yet, not only do I know that, I thought they would have already traded them for the big game hunting, the mega star,
Yeah.
and have someone to partner with Lowry and be on with the rebuild. Ainge had 1 and 2 year rebuilds in Boston. Now, having said that, when I look back over the last 2 years, where is the big game that somebody else got that the Jazz should have made, should have stepped in and intercepted that pass and gone the other way and dunked in and made that deal? I don't have anybody for you. And I think the best argument you make this year is Bridges. And I get why New York did what they did based on how good they are and how old their players are and how close they are to the top of the East. I get why they did it. I think they probably overpaid, but as Kevin O'Connor famously said, you have to.
You have to.
You have to overpay. The Jazz, to top that bid, why? They're not that close. It doesn't make any sense to me. He's not good enough, and B, they're not that close.
And C, you don't know if he's going to re-sign here even if he does. You know he's going to re-sign in New York.
Right.
You don't know if he's going to re-sign here.
I don't think they should have done that deal.
I wouldn't have either.
I can't imagine them giving up that many draft assets for him and what that would have made their record. And then to your point, do you get a chance to build on it, or is he out of here?
So the Jazz have saved all their money to re-sign Lowry.
This is going on longer than I thought it would.
Back to the point of they're going to tell you exactly who they are. They're saving all their money. There's only one reason to save your money at this point. You're the last man standing. You could sign any of the free agents you wanted. You wanted to go get Tyus Jones or Markelle Fultz. You could. You could give them more money than anybody else, and you could really improve your team to get to 38, 39 wins if you wanted to.
All these proposed deals for Markin, and the other team doesn't really want to do them, do they?
I don't know.
Well, not all of them. Most of the proposed deals. There have been some proposed deals that I think the Jazz didn't want to do.
Yes.
I saw one proposed, and I'm like, I can't remember who it was, but it was like 2 players and 2 picks, and the players weren't good enough, and only one of the picks was good enough. And I'm like, that's not nearly enough. There's no way Ainge would do that.
The Jazz want everything.
Yes.
They just want everything.
The kitchen sink.
Yeah. If you're going
to
take their best player, and really the only piece that they're building around right now, and they're hopeful for Keontae George, and they're hopeful for Taylor Hendricks, and they're hopeful for Cody Williams, but those guys are all hopefuls still. Those guys are not proven products, and you do have that with Lowry. So the Jazz are saving all their money to re-sign Lowry and extend him, and do
you think Tim McMahon's right? Do you think he signs it on, August 8th or 9th?
Yes, I think he signs it a day or two late.
Yeah.
And also, the Jazz aren't adding other players to get better. Jazz have lost 35% of their minutes from last season. Guys who played minutes last season.
You think they're going to lose more? Is there still a Clarkson trade coming?
I don't think so. Clarkson is the type of guy who could get traded in season. I've compared him to P.J. Washington, who apparently did not have a very robust market last year in Charlotte. And they're like, he doesn't help you win. He's just a guy on a bad team. On the right team, he's really helpful. P.J. Washington was really beneficial to the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs, helped them get to the finals. There's a team that could really use Jordan. I think Jordan's as good as your team is. If you're a good team, Jordan's going to come in, he's going to be a good asset. If you're a bad team, Jordan's going to be a bad asset.
Yeah, Locks asked me, well, who would need him? He's a high usage. And I'm like, show me a team that's got 3 stars and no bench.
Yeah.
And he went, Denver. I'm like, yeah. They sit down. If he can get you a bucket, if you just trade buckets, he'll go get you a few buckets, keep you afloat for a few minutes. That's a huge win.
Jamal Murray, 5 minutes off. Yeah.
Phoenix. Just find me a team that's top at Dallas.
Philly.
On down the line, right? Any team that's top heavy that's invested in the 3 stars because he signed at a super reasonable number, maybe even a bargain number.
Right.
As the cap goes up.
Golden State.
Yes.
You want a guy who can get hot?
Right.
Jordan can do it for a couple of minutes and would really benefit off of the spacing.
Can they move Collins? Because if they move Clarkson and Collins, those 2 guys are the kind of guys who turn 24-win teams into 34-win teams. They're the team. Are you going to draft 5th or 6th, or are you going to draft 9th or 10th? And I think those 2 guys, are they going to move them or not?
I think they would like to. I don't think the salary cap is allowing it. But I think it is a situation where if you get a team that says, hey, we're really trying to unload $35 million and we're over the apron, so we can only take 25 back, John Collins becomes pretty appetizing. Mm-hmm. Or Jordan becomes pretty appetizing.
They help somebody move off a bad contract.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's their value.
We'll give you a player who can help you.
Who might help you.
Play.
Yeah.
He can play, right? Collins is an NBA player. He's going to be in the NBA a few more years. There's no doubt about it. And we'll give you a player. You give us your bad contract and that number 1 pick you've got in 2031, because those can be traded now, right?
Yeah.
31 can be traded now. And your first-round pick in 31, because the odds are you aren't going to be the jammed answer for that anyway. So just move that, fix your problem now. Worry about 7 years and 7 years.
Yeah. What's your worst contract?
Right.
Give it to us. And That will depend on if the Jazz give Lowry $42 million or if the Jazz give him $33 million. That all comes into play. So why the Jazz are
do they have room to take on
maintaining
more
all this
money?
flexibility.
Yes.
And they would love to take on bad money, would be my guess.
All right, DJ and PK and Ben Anderson filling in. We have more on the Jazz and the NBA coming up. We have to talk Olympic basketball with Ben as well. We will do that next and get you up to speed on a story I talked about earlier, which we've been talking about on and off for 25 years, and it'll never happen. It can never happen, but it could happen. It could happen in the next year if they wanted to. That's next. Stay with us.
For all of you, less motivated listeners, it's time for your 9 o'clock. Where the heck have you been headlines?
Where you at?
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown in Sandy. All right, one story I've been talking about this morning, Ben. Let's recap it for the 9 o'clock listeners and for you. Thanks for coming in an hour early. Sam Quinn has an interesting story at CBSSports.com. With this network TV deal, this is the NBA's second opportunity. They passed on the first one. Their second opportunity to shorten the season, get rid of load management, take the season down from 82 to 68 games, completely eliminate back-to-backs, ban them from the NBA forever. And although they won't make every last dollar, nobody has to take a pay cut. Because the network TV money is going up so much, and you lose 14 games off your local TV package, but most of them aren't worth even a fraction of what they used to be worth. Maybe the Knicks could gripe, but it's a very short list. And yes, you'll be giving up home games, 82 to 68, 14 games. So you give up 7 home games and 14 broadcasts. But you got the network TV money tripling, $76 billion over 11 years. Nobody has to take a pay cut to do this. Is player safety that important? Are these injuries as these bigger guys are running more, and not just running, but cutting, changing direction, multiple explosive moves? It's not just Karl Malone banging bodies in the low post and then sprinting 90 feet trying to get a layup. You're rotating against all these three-point shooters, and the 6-foot player is now 6'3", and the guy who used to be 6'4" is now 6'7", and there's so many 6'9" and 6'10" guys, you can't even count them. So your 6'8", 235-pound guy is running all over the place, changing direction, cutting, and you just can't do that for 82 games. Should they do it, would that improve the product? Would it make the network TV partners happier? Or the network TV partners just paid triple. People who knew there was a problem, they just bought in. Amazon never gets to complain about load management and stars sitting out a national TV game. That was the deal when you bought in. You know the neighborhood you moved into. You know the homeless shelter was next door. Or you know you just bought in at the end of the runway at the airport.
Yeah.
You don't get to complain about that. You knew it when you bought in. So have a little personal responsibility and suck it up and quit your whining.
I would be curious how the NBA is viewed as a regional product versus a national product, where the NFL is a national product. You will watch games wherever they are. Now, local communities will root for their team.
I get your point. It's more a national product than most leagues.
And I think it is more than the NBA.
They do a good job of localizing the bad teams and regionalizing the mediocre teams.
I think that's fair.
Well, you and I do not want to watch Minnesota play Chicago. Maybe we do now with Caleb showing up. But they were 2 7-10 teams last year. So let's not put them on Sunday Night Football, okay? Because that's the marquee game. But the fact is, even though that game shouldn't be regionalized in Utah, people in Green Bay and Detroit will watch it.
Yes.
Even though Minnesota and Detroit aren't that good.
And the reason I bring that up is because if you've looked at the proposed TV schedule that is coming out with ABC, ESPN, NBC, and now Amazon as the 3 providers, 7 nights a week there's going to be a nationally broadcast television game. whether it's on Peacock or Amazon Prime or ESPN ABC. Every single night, there is going to be an NBA game on TV starting January once the NFL's regular season ends.
There will be there will be games on every night there's not an NFL game.
Yes.
All season long.
But, all season long. So they are leaning towards that national model. And if you can do that and you feel like that's enough content, there's certainly enough content. If you are more focused on the national broadcast than the local product, yes, you can absolutely do that. That's the pro for this. The con for this is teams, we blame the players so much for the rest, and we let the teams off the hook.
100%. You don't even have to convince me. I'm already on board.
Because
San Antonio Spurs.
Could Lowry Markkanen have played more than 55 games last year? Was there a reason why he only played 55?
Yes, I think he was healthy and he wanted to, and he was told he couldn't.
Yes.
And I believe that there were private conversations and sidelong looks, and multiple media members are fully aware of what you and I are talking about. You and I know it, and you and I believe it, and we are not the only two.
And Utah is not the only team.
100%.
There are a lot of teams that do it.
I think it started with the Spurs. And the fact that Spurs employees have been hired all around the league, here it was Dennis Lindsay, and Lindsay brought in Quinn Snyder, it spread like wildfire. And you didn't have to have an employee. Ainge sitting in Boston could look at San Antonio or talk to San Antonio people and hear the logic. What are you guys doing? And figure it out. And the health and science people talk to each other, and, it's the way people are. It's the way industries move.
It's also so funny to me when we talk about teams who win the titles. Boston's a good example. OKC was so good last year, and what do we say about them? Man, they had remarkable health. It's like, well, they played their players. They played their players all season long. They didn't give these guys long breaks off. And yes, it helps that nobody tore up their knee, but they played their guys as much as possible and didn't really pull them back unless it was absolutely necessary.
But the playoffs would be better if we couldn't predict what was going to happen based on health. I never believed in the Sixers because I knew they weren't healthy.
Yeah.
I never believed in the Bucks because I knew they weren't healthy. Now, maybe Antetokounmpo doesn't want the ball at the end of a game and can't hit a free throw, and Milwaukee's not going to win another title. But until they're healthy, it's never going to come down to that. So let's get them healthy so we can have more drama, so we can triple the money again in 11 years when the network TV deals are up again.
But to this point, when the teams start their playoff race, which would start earlier if you were down to 67 games as opposed to 82 games or whatever, players play. LeBron plays. Giannis was playing down the stretch. Giannis got hurt playing down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks players all got hurt playing down the stretch. That's when Kristaps got hurt late in the season, playing down the stretch. Guys got hurt when they were playing a lot.
So eliminate the back-to-backs, shorten the season, eliminate the chance. But the problem is, are they just going to play 52 games? There's no point in taking this to 68 if they're just going to play 52.
And that is my belief, is that unfortunately you're still going to only have... let's look at it this way.
Because they let 16 teams in the playoffs, and they know if they get in the playoffs, when they win, they're good to go.
And let's not
Until they change that dynamic, nothing else matters.
We don't even need to play the percentages game. We can just look at the raw access you have to players. So you have 60, let's just say 66, so it's a clean number. So you have 33 home games to go see your players. So you're already down 9 chances to potentially see a star player. And maybe they rest. LeBron never plays in Salt Lake City anymore. But you're already down 9 more opportunities to see that. And if they just take 5 games off instead of 20 games off, they're still only playing 60, which is what they played when it was an 82-game season, or it's a 66-game season.
All right.
Okay, you still only got 30 chances to see him. That number doesn't change at all. If your complaint is when I buy a ticket, I want to know Kawhi Leonard's going to be on the floor, you still only have 1 in 30 opportunities to do it. And if he misses that game, he misses that game, whether you're playing 82 or 67. I don't think it actually changes much.
Along the lines of the network TV deal, Charles Barkley, this is new for you 9 o'clock listeners. Charles Barkley on Instagram. Clearly the NBA has wanted to break us up from the beginning. I'm not sure TNT ever had a chance. TNT matched the money, but the league knows Amazon and these tech companies are the only ones willing to pay for the rights when they double in the future. The NBA didn't want to piss them off. It's a sad day when the owners and commissioners choose money over the fans. It just sucks. I just want to thank everyone who's been a Turner for the last 24 years. They're the best people, the most talented, and they deserve better. I also want to thank the NBA and its fans, the best fans in sports. We're going to give you everything we have next season. Barkley says a lot of stuff for shock value, which I appreciate because he makes me laugh. He does occasionally say wild things. He routinely makes very bad predictions about who's going to win games and playoff series. But he does have insight into the business and access to people, and I think he's smart, and I think he's curious, and he asks good questions. I think when he says this, he's speaking for a lot of industry executives who don't want to say this because they don't have Barkley's money and guaranteed future income. But I think he's right. And for what I can't figure out is how personal this got and why there isn't a fourth package with TNT. Because we just said the local games aren't worth that much. Put them on TNT, and maybe they don't even have to be exclusive. So the Lakers and Knicks will be the last two teams, and maybe the Celtics will be the last 2 or 3 teams with valuable local TV packages. Can still have their valuable local TV packages with their local announcers. And for everybody else, if it's exclusive and we miss out on Bowler and Thurl for 1 or 2 games, whatever, is that the end of the world? I don't think it is. I don't know why they don't have a fourth package. And not only should they be playing 7 nights a week, this game's going global. There's 61 Olympians who play in the NBA who are not on the U.S. team. So play Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Not as valuable on TV, but I think if TNT was offered that package, they would take it. And then those games can be broadcast in Europe because I've read multiple comments from Europe about, I saw this story about Sky Sports signed it. Like, this game's going to be on the middle of the night. When are they going to be at a watchable hour? When you play during the day.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, and on holidays. The Christmas Day schedule, the early games are at a reasonable hour. They're in prime time over in Europe. When they play on MLK Day, those games, the day games, a lot of teams play at noon or 2 or whatever. Those games would be in prime time in Europe. I guess it got a little personal and they didn't want the fourth contract because the fourth contract makes a lot of sense to me. You make more money here and you make more money overseas, which is where the game is going. The NBA Africa Academy and the other academies they have around the world are guaranteeing that the U.S. will not win the gold in basketball forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are developing
they might not
more
win it
and
this
more
year.
good players. They may well not. Right now, I would still take the U.S. over the field, but when Scotty G asked me that, I paused. I still think it's better than a 50% chance the U.S. wins.
They're the best team every time they suit up.
It's
but
not
that
100, it's not 90, it's not 80. No, because you get down to 3 games that are NCAA tournament time. It's 48 minutes? No, it's 40.
Yeah.
And the three-point line is closer. If somebody gets hot from 3, they can beat you. Now, the U.S. has to minimize that by actually deciding to defend and possibly moving away from the ball when they have it on offense. Just a couple, small basic things. But maybe they're bored in the exhibition games. I don't know why Steph Curry didn't look better. Maybe he's getting used to the international ball.
He's never played international basketball like this
I know,
before. Yeah.
But, he drove into traffic and got a shot blocked and missed open 3-pointers. Who are you and what have you done with Steph Curry?
We are really underrating chemistry when we talk about Team USA versus the world.
Well,
the chemistry on the rest of the teams is great.
They rated it back in 2008 because that team played together in 06 and 07 in the summers. And for some reason, they've gone away from that, and I think it's showing up.
Yep. These FIBA teams that play in the offseason, like the one that played last year, basically none of those guys are on this team.
The European teams, the European championships are really important to them, so they play there. And they play in the World Cup. The old World Championships has been rebranded. And they play in the Olympics. So 3 years out of 4, they got a chance to play in a really important tournament.
Together.
Yes.
And they all grew up playing together.
So there's that, because they were the best players in their country.
And we forget how small these countries are.
Yeah.
Compared to the U.S., where, Isaiah Collier played in Georgia. He hasn't played kids in California. Maybe once on the AAU circuit randomly in a national tournament, but he's not playing with these kids every year.
But if you're looking at a European country of 50 or 60 million people, you're looking at basically 1/6 or 1/7 of the United States.
And they play together. They play each other against each other at 12, and then they're playing together in these academies at 14, and then they grow up together, playing together. So the chemistry is there. So that's why I'm certainly not super confident in Team USA's ability to win the title this year, win the gold medal. And back to Amazon Prime, they're in 20 countries. TNT is not.
Right.
It's pretty simple for the NBA.
They're going to have deeper
NBA wants
pockets.
to be a global market. They want to have the infrastructure already built in for streaming, and Amazon has it.
So why not a fourth deal? Especially given that the afternoons are open and they're valuable, because what that means for Europe.
You may have not wanted to anger your new partner in Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
By having a fourth partner?
By cutting their games, because I think that's what it was going to have to do.
Just give them first pick.
Amazon.
Yeah.
The first picks of the games.
TNT, you're going to get the fourth pick of the games. You're not going to get the Lakers versus the Celtics. You're not going to get the Lakers versus the Sixers.
Amazon's already the third pick.
But you'll get Denver versus Milwaukee.
Because ESPN is the first pick. ESPN ABC is the first pick. NBC is the second pick. So Amazon was already third, and you may have not wanted to push them down further by splitting up what their revenue was.
DJ and PK, Ben Anderson sitting in. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us.
And now, enough of us. It's time to hear from you. From all your texts, tweets, and posts. This is the best feedback of the day.
Woo! Oh, I was there. That's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Brought to you in part by Teton Wealth. Ethan Millard with Teton Wealth will be live in studio with Hans and Scotty today to help you with your retirement plan. Tune in or visit retireteton.com. Question of the morning. All right, here you go, big guy. Snoop Dogg carried the Olympic torch in the Paris suburbs. Which celebrity will carry the torch in Sandy in 2034? Now, I know a lot of people look at me and immediately assume, well, they're Snoop Dogg's biggest fan. Okay, I'm not Snoop Dogg's biggest fan, but I am a fan because what I love about Snoop Dogg is that he has hit the tape measure home run in life. And when he jogs to first base, he looks in the dugout and he winks. And I love that about him. He says and does stuff, and the look on his face, his laugh, and the look in his eyes tells me, I can't believe Calvin Broadus has pulled this off.
Yep.
Is this a great country or what? So he can have all the success and he can do whatever he wants and blah, blah, blah. I enjoy the fact that he's in on the joke and he knows that this is just absolutely incredible. And so I drove a former Cougar who I like, who I'll leave out of this by name, nuts because I told him, I said, you know, Britton Covey is Utah's Snoop Dogg. And he's like, what? Okay, there's 1,000 things that Britton Covey does not have in common with Snoop Dogg, and Snoop doesn't have it with Britton. But you know what they both have, and it's why I love them both, is Britton also goes through with life with that little twinkle in his eye and that little wink like, can you believe this?
Just enjoying the ride.
This is incredible.
Yep.
I am 5'0", 100 and whatever pounds, and I'm playing in the NFL, and I'm pretty good. This is fun. They have both beaten the odds and won the lottery in life. And they both have that little wink, that little twinkle in the eye and let you know it. And I appreciate that about both of them. So Snoop Dogg carried the Olympic torch in the Paris suburbs. Which celebrity will carry the torch in Sandy in 2034? Tom immediately sends back this gift, and he's right.
Oh, Post Malone.
Post Malone. Dr. Randy says Ryan Smith. That's true, Ryan will. Well, Larry Miller
He'll be
did.
part of it,
Larry
yeah.
Miller did back in the day. Yeah, the torch relay. There's room for everybody.
Yeah. Anyone suggest Tisha Ginla?
Levi said Superdell.
Okay.
And then, do you know who she is?
Who's that?
Okay, we're 0 for 3. We don't know. Someone sent us a picture. Papa Dave sent us a picture of a woman, and I didn't know who it was. And I thought, oh, old guy doesn't. Pop culture has passed me by. I've missed something. So I talked to Christian, a.k.a. Chicho here, and he didn't know. And now you don't know. So we're 0 for 3. I don't know, whoever she is. Random Draper mom? I don't know.
It's not even a high-quality photo.
It's not.
All pixelated.
It is.
I'd throw Tej out there.
Okay.
I'll make Jazz fans happy. I'll say Cooper Flagg. I'll throw him out there.
Can I throw a guess in?
Sure.
You can't golf in the winter, so by 2034, you think you and PK will have any plans?
Unless we're golfing down in St. George. We'll carry it through St. George, where we're golfing.
A relay.
Sean says, I have it on good authority. It'll be Lisa Barlow from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. One provision, instead of the traditional torch, it'll be a flaming mason jar full of Vita tequila. I don't really know what Lisa's backstory is because I don't watch Real Housewives of anything. Those to me are all a phenomenal waste of time. And I'm always shocked when I find someone in my life who's into them.
Says the guy who was watching French team handball last night at 10:30.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, it's midnight. If I can't sleep at midnight and I have to turn on the TV and my options are Olympic handball or Real Housewives of Atlanta, Beverly Hills, Orange County, Salt Lake, or wherever else,
Team handball.
I'm watching handball every single time. And I don't even know the rules, except that you can't stand in that different colored area.
You know what the nice thing about Real Housewife is?
What?
There are no rules.
Oh, okay.
Do whatever you want.
Let's see. Clint says Nick Raimondo, Kyle Beckerman, and Ty Burrell. U-State Iceman says Scotty G with all his Utah State regalia on.
10 years from now, with all due respect, all these people are going to be relatively irrelevant.
With all due respect. I just got pushed over the edge of the cliff. Tyson, Cooper Flag. It'll be Cooper Flag. Yeah. Cooper Flag because the Utah Jazz will purposely lose all of their games this year. They will go 0-82 so they can draft Cooper, and then Cooper and the Jazz will win the NBA championship in 2033 or before.
The irony is, even if the Jazz were to win the lottery, draft Cooper Flag next year, what are the odds he's on the Jazz roster 10 years from now? 0?
Because he's going to leave after 2 contracts?
Today's NBA? No one stays.
After 7 days?
It doesn't matter.
After 7 years, he bolts. No one stays.
Steph Curry is the last.
I was about to say Steph Curry.
And I'm not guaranteed.
Giannis.
Well, Giannis will play elsewhere in his career. Joker will play elsewhere in his career. And I would.
But they'll play 10 years where they are.
Sure. And I would put Steph playing elsewhere in his career. I still would put that above 5%. I know it's late. I know he's right there. I know he's got his contract.
But if they really want to rebuild, they should move him.
1 year, towards the end, let him go play in New York or whatever.
The Jazz didn't move John Stockton.
No, they didn't.
And Dirk Nowitzki didn't move in Dallas. And the Lakers missed the playoffs 6 years in a row, waiting out the end of Kobe and his Achilles.
Maybe they will. And that's why I said I put Steph at 5%.
I think they can move
5.
Steph and get 3 or 4 first-round picks. Because Steph is still so good, he'll make somebody an NBA champion if he goes to the right team.
Yeah, at 38 or 39 years old.
Yeah.
If he's your third best player, fourth best player.
You're winning the title. If he goes to any of the top 10 teams in the league, because I don't think the problem is making the cap work.
And well, he can do the Karl Malone thing and sign a veteran minimum at the end of his contract, at the end of his career. No problem. I would hope he doesn't, but Clay's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned Stockton. Well, Stockton had a running mate who was better than he was. He finished his career in L.A.
He did. He did the 1 year.
So.
And they went to the finals. And they could have won it all if the coach wasn't writing a book in the back of the bus.
And Steph's sitting on 3 titles?
4.
He's got 4.
4.
Excuse me, 4.
Bite your tongue. 1 before Durant, 2 with Durant, and 1. And he should have 5, but somebody got suspended for game 5.
So he gets up to 5. 5 puts him above LeBron. 5 matches him with Kobe. 5 matches him with Tim Duncan.
With Magic.
With Magic. It puts him into that even other tier. It's more than Shaq.
Yep.
It separates you a little bit.
He's tied with Shaq and LeBron right now.
You're not. There's not a superstar right now who's going to get to 6. You know, that's kind of Michael by himself, with all due respect to Bill Russell and Robert Horry. But superstars, best player on the team who gets 6, that will be the gold standard.
The only one who could have ever caught Russell was Kobe. He just had to get along with Shaq.
Could do it.
Well, I don't know that he would have gotten to 11, though. I mean, I think they could have won 3 more.
Yeah.
So now he's at 8. But, you know, when does a club make the Gasol trade, and how long can they stay good before his body breaks down? So he could have made a run at it. He could have passed Jordan, that's for sure. Getting to 11, that's something. That is something. You stayed Iceman at Scotty G Zone. Hey, Scotty, did I just hear you're going to be irrelevant in 10 years? Is Post Malone going to be irrelevant in 10 years? No.
No, I do like that
Ryan
he is
Smith?
the hybrid between...
Ryan Smith? No.
No, Ryan's going to own more of Salt Lake 10 years from now. I like that Post Malone is the hybrid between Snoop Dogg and Britton Covey, where we started this conversation. It's kind of the perfect blend of the two.
You got to have the wink going through life.
He has it. Post Malone has it.
Yeah. I have crushed life in ways that you cannot expect when you're 10 years old, and I'm going to enjoy this. And if you have that, I don't begrudge you any of whatever comes after that. And Britton's got it. And Snoop's got it. Post Malone. We'll go down a list of celebs who have it. All right, coming up next, you and Jake.
Jake
you ready
does
to
not
go?
have it.
Jake does not have it?
He does not have that
He
wink.
does not have the wink. All right, Jake and Ben next right here in the Zone.